Welcome, everyone. Today we embark on one of the most profound and far-reaching studies that the Urantia Book invites us to undertake, a comprehensive exploration of personality. Personality is not simply a synonym for character, temperament, or individuality as commonly understood. The Urantia Book presents personality as a dimension of cosmic reality, a direct and personal gift of the Universal Father, the one changeless thread that runs through all the shifting experiences of a creature's existence. To understand personality as the Urantia Book describes it is to understand something essential about God Himself, about our relationship to Him, and about the eternal destiny that awaits every soul willing to choose it. Over these 20 slides, we will move systematically from the origin of personality, through its mechanism and operation, to its cosmic significance and its ultimate destiny. Let us begin this magnificent journey. What exactly is personality? The Urantia Book is remarkably precise in its answer, and that precision immediately sets it apart from ordinary usage. Personality is described as a level of deified reality, a phrase that lifts it far above any psychological or sociological definition. It ranges from the mortal and midwayer level all the way up to the attainment of finality status. Yet across that vast range, it retains certain essential characteristics. The single most important defining characteristic is this: personality can coexist with unlimited change while retaining its identity in the very presence of all such changes. Think about that. Every cell in your body has changed since you were born. Your thoughts, emotions, values, and understanding have transformed beyond recognition. Yet you are still you. That unbroken thread of identity, that is personality at work. Equally important, personality is never spontaneous. It does not arise through evolution or self-generation. It is always and exclusively the gift of the Paradise Father. Where does personality come from? The Urantia Book answers this with extraordinary clarity and equal grandeur. The Universal Father is the secret of the reality of personality, the bestowal of personality, and the destiny of personality. Three profound truths are packed into that single sentence. The Father is the origin, the mechanism, and the goal of all personality. Personality is bestowed, it is superimposed upon energy, associated only with living energy systems. It is not something that builds up gradually, it is conferred in a divine act. But here is something that should move every human being deeply: the potential personality of an evolutionary moral being is centered in the personality of the Universal Father. Your personality, not yet fully developed, perhaps not yet fully expressed, is already real in the Father. Before you have become what you will be, you already exist in Him. This is the metaphysical foundation of every human being's infinite dignity and worth. What are the intrinsic characteristics of personality? The Urantia Book gives us a remarkable inventory. The higher concepts of universe personality imply identity, self-consciousness, self-will, and possibility for self-revelation. Each of these deserves careful attention. Identity means that the personality remains recognizably itself through all transformations. Self-consciousness means the capacity to know that one exists and to reflect upon that existence. Self-will is the most morally weighty of all, the freedom and responsibility to choose. And self-revelation is perhaps the most relationally rich, the possibility of genuinely disclosing oneself to another. But the most arresting single statement about personality's nature is this, from paper 130: personality is that cosmic endowment, that phase of universal reality, which can coexist with unlimited change and at the same time retain its identity in the very presence of all such changes, and forever afterward. The phrase, forever afterward, is not incidental, it is the promise of eternity built into the very definition. How does personality actually operate? Its central function, and this cannot be emphasized too strongly, is integration. The Urantia Book states, personality is the one changeless reality in an otherwise ever-changing creature experience, and it unifies all other associated factors of individuality. Without personality, a human being would be a collection of separate streams, physical processes, mental events, spiritual impulses, with no center to bind them together. Personality is that center. The mechanism involves 3 levels: matter, mind, and spirit. Mind is described as ever intervening between spirit and matter within personality. This is why the quality of mind, whether it is yielded to material impulses or open to spiritual leading, has such decisive consequences for the direction of growth. When mind is open to spirit, personality becomes increasingly integrated with its highest dimension. When mind is subservient to matter alone, the lower levels dominate, and the integrated unity that personality is meant to express becomes progressively impaired. No feature of personality is more central to the Urantia Book's teaching than the will, the capacity for moral and spiritual choice. Consider how the book distinguishes the human will from anything found in the animal kingdom. It is the possession of such powers of spiritual discrimination and truth-choosing that makes mortal man a moral being, a creature endowed with the attributes of spiritual responsibility and the potential of eternal survival. The will is not simply the power to choose between options, it is the power to choose between levels of reality, between the temporal and the eternal, between self-will and God's will. This is why the Urantia Book repeatedly speaks of will creatures, beings for whom the universe is a moral arena, not merely an environment. The exercise of this will in the direction of God's will is not an obligation imposed from without. As Jesus taught, "Your kingdom come, your will be done," these 2 petitions are in his mind the same petition. Doing the Father's will is the natural expression of love, freely and joyfully chosen. Is God personal? This question, which has occupied philosophers and theologians for millennia, receives a decisive and beautiful answer in the Urantia Book. Personality is not simply an attribute of God, it rather stands for the totality of the coordinated infinite nature and the unified divine will which is exhibited in eternity and universality of perfect expression. Personality, in the supreme sense, is the revelation of God to the universe of universes. God is not merely a person in any sense we can fully comprehend. He is infinitely more than personality as we understand it. But, and this is crucial, he cannot be less. He is personal in the fullest, most complete sense possible. He can know and be known, can love and be loved, and can befriend us. And there is further proof. The Father shares full equality of communication with the Eternal Son and the Infinite Spirit within the Paradise Trinity. Personality is proven by relationship, and the Eternal Trinity is the universe's most perfect demonstration of what personality in relationship can be. The personality of God matters to us personally because only persons can truly commune with persons. This is one of the Urantia Book's most distinctive and moving teachings. When Jesus talked about the living God, he referred to a personal deity, the Father in heaven. The concept of the personality of deity facilitates fellowship, it favors intelligent worship, it promotes refreshing trustfulness. The philosophical debate with Rodin of Alexandria illustrates this beautifully. Rodin argued that God, being the source of all personality, must transcend personality and therefore cannot be personal in any meaningful sense. Nathaniel's response, developed over several days, is a masterpiece of spiritual logic. Its culminating step, God must be a personality since he is the creator of all personality and the destiny of all personality. The creator of all persons cannot be impersonal. The destiny of every person cannot be an abstraction. At the end of the dialogue, Rodin declared, "I am convinced. I will confess God as a person. And so may every one of us." The Father maintains connection with his vast creation of personal beings through what the Urantia Book calls the personality circuit. Only by means of his far-flung personality circuit does God deal directly with the personalities of his vast creation of will creatures. This circuit reaches to every corner of the universe, every personal being is connected to the Father through it. What are the implications? Every personality is directly related to the Father himself, not through a chain of intermediaries but through this living circuit of personal presence. And every time personalities come into meaningful association with one another, something larger than the sum of its parts comes into being. The Urantia Book expresses this mathematically in one of its most striking passages. if one person stands for a certain unit of intellectual and moral value, 10 persons would stand for 10 times this value. It would be nearer the truth to say that such a personality association is a sum equal to the square of the number of personalities concerned. Genuine personal community is exponentially greater than the individuals within it. This is the spiritual mathematics of love. One of the most important and carefully drawn distinctions in the Urantia Book's teaching on personality is this: personality itself does not change, but moral character, which grows within personality, does. Personality is basically changeless. That which changes, grows, is the moral character. This distinction carries enormous practical implications. The fact that your personality is given and stable means you can never be stripped of your fundamental identity. But the fact that character grows means that what you become is genuinely up to you, and genuinely matters. Growth toward self-consciousness is described as the threshold of personality itself. When an animal becomes self-conscious, it becomes a primitive man. This attainment results from the coordination of impersonal energy and spirit-conceiving mind, which warrants the bestowal of the indwelling spirit, the thought adjuster, as the focal point of human personality. From that point forward, the direction of growth is clear, toward God consciousness, toward the increasing realization that the Father's Spirit dwells within. The relationship between personality and the thought adjuster is one of the most remarkable and tender teachings in all of the Urantia Book. The adjuster is described as pre-personal, not a personality, though destined to become a part of the personality of the surviving mortal creature. Here we encounter a profound mystery, the most intimate presence of God within us. The divine fragment that dwells in our very minds, is not itself a personality. Yet it is moving toward personality through its relationship with us. The adjuster is the primary agent of soul creation. Working in partnership with the human mind, it builds the immortal soul, the Urantia self that carries the essence of all that has been genuinely lived and grown and loved. The soul, in turn, is the vehicle through which personality survives death. And the goal? Adjuster fusion, a union of the human personality and the divine fragment so complete that a new, eternal being emerges. The baptism of Jesus, at which his personalized adjuster returned and spoke, is the supreme illustration of what this ultimate union can mean. The survival of personality is not a peripheral hope in the Urantia Book, it is the central drama of mortal existence. The human soul, personality, of man survives mortal death by identity association with this indwelling spark of divinity, which is immortal, and which functions to perpetuate the human personality upon a continuing and higher level of progressive universe existence. Note what survives, not the physical body, that is laid aside. Not the material mind as such, that ceases with the brain. What survives is personality, together with the soul it has built in cooperation with the adjuster, bearing all the experiential values of a genuinely lived life. The Urantia Book is equally clear about what it means for personality to be embodied without matter. A material body is not indispensable to personality in either man or God. Personality transcends its physical vehicle. The Urantia self, the spirit self, and ultimately the phenoliter, these are not lesser versions of the person but fuller, more complete expressions of the same identity. The Urantia Book does not only describe personality at its best, it also warns with great solemnity about what becomes of personality when it turns against its own nature. The case of Judas Iscariot is presented as a profound cautionary study. Here is the summary: in personality, he was isolated. In mind, he was suspicious and vengeful. In temperament, he was surly and vindictive. Emotionally, he was loveless and unforgiving. Socially, he was unconfiding and almost wholly self-contained. In spirit, he became arrogant and selfishly ambitious. In life, he ignored those who loved him, and in death, he was friendless. The root of this catastrophic failure? Persistent isolation, the deliberate refusal of genuine fellowship. Because personality is inherently relational, cutting oneself off from authentic personal communion starves the personality of the very nourishment it needs. Growth stops. Resentment compounds. The self turns in upon itself in a spiral of diminishment. The antidote is not more willpower but the courageous opening of the self to others, and above all, to God. Among the most spiritually stirring themes in the Urantia book is the relationship between personality and freedom. The two are not in tension, they are expressions of the same divine reality. Universe progress is characterized by increasing personality freedom because it is associated with the progressive attainment of higher and higher levels of self-understanding and consequent voluntary self-restraint. The attainment of perfection of spiritual self-restraint equals completeness of universe freedom and personal liberty. This is a paradox only to those who have not yet tasted it. The more completely a personality surrenders to God's will, not by compulsion, but by love, the more fully free it becomes. The chains fall away. The desperate self-protectiveness dissolves. What remains is a self that is wholly its own because it has found itself wholly in God. Jesus stated this with magnificent clarity: "I have come into the world to proclaim spiritual liberty to the end that mortals may be empowered to live individual lives of originality and freedom before God." Personality is the seat of that freedom and its most complete expression. No study of personality in the Urantia book would be complete without dwelling on the personality of Jesus himself, the supreme human divine illustration of everything the book teaches. In Jesus' earth life we are inspired by the perfect demonstration of such a realization and revelation of the personality of God in a truly human experience. He is not merely an example of personality fully realized, he is the revelation of what personality at its absolute best looks like. Thomas Didymus, who appreciated Jesus more intellectually than perhaps any other apostle, captured this in an unforgettable description. He marveled at how Jesus was so lovingly merciful yet so inflexibly just and fair, so firm but never obstinate, so calm but never indifferent, so helpful and sympathetic but never meddlesome or dictatorial, so strong but at the same time so gentle, so positive but never rough or rude, so tender but never vacillating. The balance is total. Every quality finds its perfect counterpart. This matchless symmetry of personality is not a portrait of someone who managed competing virtues. It is a portrait of someone in whom all virtues flowed from a single source, his perfect union with the Father. We have been exploring personality from the creature's side. Now let us consider its cosmic significance, what personality means for the universe as a whole, and what it means for God himself. The Urantia book makes a statement that should stop every reader in their tracks: God and men need each other. They are mutually necessary to the full and final attainment of eternal personality experience in the divine destiny of universe finality. The Creator and the creature need each other. Not because God is incomplete, but because the universe of personal beings is the arena in which something new comes into existence, an experiential reality that neither God as infinite nor creatures as finite could produce alone. It is literally true: in all your afflictions he is afflicted. In all your triumphs he triumphs in and with you. His pre-personal divine spirit is a real part of you. Every genuine experience you have, every act of love, every choice for truth, every moment of real growth, is registered in the consciousness of the Universal Father. Your personality journey is literally a part of his eternal story. Can personality be destroyed? The Urantia book faces this difficult question with characteristic honesty. For the vast majority of mortal beings, yes, personality survives, grows, and ultimately attains the eternal destiny for which it was created. The adjuster indwelt personality that sincerely chooses the Father's will has an assured future. But there exists a terrible possibility. When a personality persistently, knowingly, and willfully identifies with sin, when it reaches the point of complete self-identification with iniquity, the Urantia book describes what happens. Such an isolated personality is absorbed into the oversoul of creation, becoming a part of the evolving experience of the Supreme Being. Never again does it appear as a personality, its identity becomes as though it had never been. This is not imposed punishment. It is the natural consequence of a personality that has progressively abandoned every quality that makes personality real. The Urantia book calls undiluted evil inherently and automatically suicidal. The capacity for eternal life is also the capacity for this ultimate choice. The weight of that fact is part of what makes personality the most serious reality in the universe. For the personality that chooses God, that sincerely and persistently orients its will toward the Father, the destiny is one of the most breathtaking visions in all of spiritual literature. Although Urantia mortals can hardly hope to be perfect in the infinite sense, it is entirely possible for human beings, starting out as they do on this planet, to attain the supernal and divine goal which the infinite God has set for mortal man, and when they do achieve this destiny, they will, in all that pertains to self-realization and mind attainment, be just as replete in their sphere of divine perfection as God himself is in his sphere of infinity and eternity. The ascension journey is not a journey toward absorption into God, it is a journey toward full, mature, complete selfhood in the presence of God. The personality does not dissolve into the divine, it is completed by it. The Fina leader is not less of a person than the mortal, incomparably more. The thought adjuster becomes the eternal companion. The surviving soul becomes the Urantia self, then the spirit self, then the Fina leader, each stage richer, freer, more fully alive than the last. The significance of personality does not remain contained in the spiritual realm. The Urantia book draws direct lines between the proper understanding of personality and the shape of human civilization itself. Always respect the personality of man. Never should a righteous cause be promoted by force, spiritual victories can be won only by spiritual power. This single instruction, spoken by Jesus, contains a complete philosophy of ethical action, and a devastating critique of every coercive system in human history. The purpose of all education should be to foster and further the supreme purpose of life, the development of a majestic and well-balanced personality. Not the acquisition of skills, not economic productivity, not national power, but the development of persons. This is the standard by which all human institutions are ultimately to be judged. And, the religion of Jesus fosters the highest type of human civilization in that it creates the highest type of spiritual personality and proclaims the sacredness of that person. A civilization built on the sacredness of personality would be something the world has never yet seen. The Urantia book reminds us, these dynamic ideals have never yet been seriously or honestly tried. We come to the end of our survey. Let me offer a synthesis of everything we have explored. Personality, as the Urantia book presents it, is the supreme gift of the Universal Father to his creature children. It is the thread that runs from the moment of its divine bestowal, through all the changes and growth and struggle of mortal life, through the Urantia worlds and the spirit spheres, all the way to the eternal embrace of the Father on paradise. In its origin, personality is the Father's direct and sovereign act, never evolved, never spontaneous, always bestowed. In its mechanism, personality integrates matter, mind, and spirit into a unified self. In its operation, personality exercises the will that makes moral creatures what they are, responsible, free, and capable of genuine love. In its significance, personality is the means by which God and creature meet, know each other, and, through that knowing, bring into existence experiential realities that enrich the universe forever. God and men need each other. For words that contain the whole meaning of creation. The universe is a stage for the drama of personality, and every one of us is both actor and author in that drama. This is the gospel of personality. And the invitation to live it fully is open to every one of us, beginning today. Thank you.